This family is trying to escape from Egypt before they all freeze to death. In this world, the ocean floors open up after unusual seismic activity interferes with Mother Nature. But suddenly, the open floors reveal hot, burning lava into the cool water of the ocean. This leads to rapid and massive evaporation, bringing about low pressure, causing the temperature to drop below zero in just a matter of hours. In Jordan, the American Navy is conducting a routine exercise with their warships and jets. One of the jets finishes its inspection and heads back to the ship to land. But suddenly, the ocean releases a huge burst of gas, disrupting the jet's path. Everyone is shocked, unsure of what's happening. The pilot struggles to regain control after the incident, but the jet is too damaged. He ejects, and the jet crashes into one of the ships. Next, a search and rescue helicopter and small boats are dispatched to recover the pilot. After locating him, they pull his body out of the water, but he is already dead, his body burnt. Then a similar burst of gas strikes one of the boats, killing some of the soldiers. Later, 5 bodies are laid on the ship, and the captain is briefed about the situation. They notice a spike in temperature across the region and abnormal seismic activity. The captain orders the jets to be secured and informs the Jordanian fleet. Suddenly, another blast occurs, much larger than the previous ones, flipping the ship upside down and killing everyone on board. The ocean floor is splitting, and hot lava is coming into contact with the cold ocean water, causing these violent bursts. Meanwhile, a family is on vacation in Egypt, visiting the Great Pyramids. Jack, the father, Amber, the daughter, and Dylan, the brother, are touring inside the pyramid, while Diane, the mother, shops for antiques for their new boutique. During the tour, Amber meets Tariq, who agrees with her doubts about the pyramids being built in just 20 years, as the tour book claims. He warns her not to dig too deep into the matter, saying she'll only confuse herself like he did. Before they talk further, Tariq leaves with 2 men who enter a room inside the pyramid. Amber asks the guide if she can follow them, but he explains that they are paying respects to someone they knew. Next, Jack asks Dylan to put away his phone and enjoy the tour, but Dylan is absorbed in a game where he guides a bat through a cave using only voice signals. After the tour, the family returns to their hotel and meets with Diane. Amber expresses her frustration that the guide didn't mention that the pyramid was once the tallest man-made structure in the world. The family decides to grab a bite to eat and heads for the hotel's entrance. As Jack reaches for the door handle, the glass shatters, and a massive earthquake suddenly strikes Cairo. The family quickly runs out of the hotel to safety. Next, they see Tariq and his friends trapped under rubble. His friends are killed instantly, but Tariq survives. Jack rushes to him and frees him from the debris. They both run to safety just before another building collapses nearby. The entire city is in flames and ruins, with only a few buildings still standing. Later, the family stumbles across the remains of a house and finds a working TV. The news reporter announces that the entire Arabian Peninsula has shifted, and a similar earthquake has struck Dubai. Beneath the Red Sea, the ocean floor has split, exposing seawater to lava over a distance of more than 1,000 miles. Tariq tells them he needs to contact his father, but a military vehicle drives by, instructing American tourists to head to the embassy for assistance. Tariq warns them that it's impossible, as the U.S. Embassy is in the heart of the city, and there's no way to get there. He then explains that rapid evaporation has created massive clouds, forming a powerful low-pressure system. Pointing to a map, he shows them that in marked areas, including where they are now, the temperature is expected to drop rapidly, possibly below zero. He urges them to leave before sundown, as the area will become uninhabitable by then. Next, massive black clouds gather overhead, and it begins to rain. Jack tells his family that no help is coming, and they need to leave the area immediately. He suggests heading to the airport, as it is away from tall buildings, and the modern structure should withstand an earthquake. Jack also tells Tariq to stick with them, assuring him that they can contact his father once they reach the airport. Later, the family tries to get a ride, but no one is willing to stop. Tariq manages to flag down a van and convinces the driver to take them. The driver agrees, and the family gets inside. However, the heavy rain soon turns to snow, and by the time they reach the airport, it is covered in snow, making it impossible for any flights to leave Cairo. Oddly enough, it never snows in Egypt. The snowstorm intensifies, and the wind violently tosses the planes around. While they are stuck in traffic near the airport, the driver gets into an argument with someone and abruptly leaves the car. Then Jack decides they have traveled far enough by car, so they set out on foot. Shortly after walking a few meters, a plane crashes on the runway, making them realize the seriousness of their situation. The family decides to head to a train station instead and manages to board the last train just as it's about to leave. But as the train goes over a fallen tree, Dylan accidentally falls off. Amber and Jack jump off to help him, but the train is moving too fast to catch up. Tariq and Diane also jump off to join them. With all hope seemingly lost, Jack becomes frustrated, but Tariq gives them hope. He tells them he has contacted his father, and they should head down to the highway immediately, as his father is sending a pickup. Next, the family reaches the highway, which is now covered in snow, and they wait for their transport. Jack worries that they won't be seen in the harsh weather, so Tariq tells everyone to turn on their phone flashlights and place them on the ground. Soon, a plane arrives and rescues them. However, the family is confused about how Tariq managed to get a plane at such a time. Dylan asks Tariq who he really is. Tariq explains that his father is an important person in Jordan, but they are not satisfied with that answer. He then reveals that his father is the Minister of Defense. Suddenly, a huge burst of gas chases the plane, and soon they are caught in a heavy snowstorm with strong winds. The plane begins to shake, and eventually, the engines start to freeze. The pilots decide to make an emergency landing on the frozen ocean. After the successful landing, everyone rushes out, knowing the ice won't hold the plane for long. They make it safely to the other side and gather to discuss their next steps. After some debate, they decide to push through the storm, risking their lives because there is an evacuation center near the Red Sea. They are joined by some locals, and the group continues their journey. Along the way, they come across a camel farm and decide to take the camels. They form pairs and begin traveling on camelback. Next, Dylan spots something shiny and gets off his camel to check it out. However, what he saw is the top of a pyramid, and he accidentally slides tens of meters down the side. Jack follows him to make sure he's okay. Realizing they can't bring the camels down the pyramid, they cut them free and slide down themselves. Next, they spot part of the plane they landed earlier, and it dawns on them that they may be going in circles. Tariq insists he needs to contact his father, but Jack urges them to keep moving before they all freeze. The only good news is that the snowstorm has stopped. Soon after, the group is found by two cars whose drivers saw their plane crash. The drivers offer them a ride and take them to an oil refinery where they've been gathering supplies. The locals have turned the refinery into a base camp after the employees were evacuated. They give the group food and supplies. Jack then asks the camp leader for some vehicles to help them reach the evacuation center. However, the leader doubts that such a center exists. Suddenly, a minor earthquake hits, causing a barrel of oil to roll into the fire, triggering an explosion. Fortunately, no one is hurt. Jack urges everyone in the camp to leave with him or risk freezing to death. One of the locals argues that they have enough supplies to last for weeks, but tells them they are free to go if they choose. The group decides to leave, leaving behind those who wanted to stay. Next, their cars are hit by massive hailstones, and from the rear view, they see that the camp they just left is destroyed. Then the car Jack is in gets struck and flips over. Both Tariq and Jack are unharmed, and they quickly get into the other vehicle and escape. Amber, however, is injured when the cars collided after Jack's vehicle flipped. After driving a few miles, the driver of the other car, Captain Kawar, stops, and so does Jack. Kawar tells Jack he spotted an extraction point through the storm, but as the storm clears, they find themselves standing on the edge of a cliff. They decide to descend the cliff to reach the supposed extraction point, but it won't be easy. Dylan suggests using the towing rope to safely lower themselves down. Kawar, Jack, and Tariq make it down without any trouble, followed by Amber, who is nervous but manages the descent. As she comes down, the truck's tires lose grip on the slippery ice, and they have to use blocks of ice to keep the vehicle from sliding. Then Diane descends, but as soon as she lands, the truck slips down, with one person still inside. The vehicle crashes to the ground, and Kawar, unable to get out of the way in time, is killed. Next, the group that has descended finds a cluster of abandoned cars. When they check inside, they are horrified to see frozen bodies. Shaken, they quickly leave the area and find Dylan, Simon, the driver of the second car, and the rest of the group. Simon has found loops to help bring the car down to their level. The reunited group then heads toward the evacuation point. After traveling some more, they finally spot the evacuation point in the distance. But their car is hit by a small earthquake, and Jack is unable to drive it any further. They decide to continue on foot. When they reach the supposed evacuation point, Diane realizes it is actually a dam. They have arrived at the Sagafaa Dam, with the Red Sea and the evacuation point on the other side. Suddenly, the dam begins to crack, and panic sets in. Part of the dam's wall breaks, revealing frozen water inside. A huge cracking sound follows, and the entire structure starts collapsing. The group tries to climb up the valley, but some fall to their deaths. Diane and Dylan manage to enter an abandoned phosphate mine. With no way out, Dylan comes up with a clever idea. He uses the water vapor from their breath to track the direction of airflow, just like in his earlier game. This time, they are the bats, and their breath acts as their guide to find an exit. Diane and Dylan find their way out and rejoin the group, though Amber's injury is getting worse. Jack and Tariq help Amber walk as they continue their search for the evacuation point. Soon they reach a small hill, but there's a massive storm behind it. Simon, against Jack's advice, runs toward the hill, thinking he can make it through, but he is instantly swept away by the storm. Diane suggests they use the other passages in the phosphate mine where she was trapped with Dylan. The group enters, and after taking one of the many tunnels, Amber begins to feel warmth. She realizes they are close to a warmer area and rushes forward, discovering a stream. She tells the group that it must be warm because the water isn't frozen. The group enters the water to see where it leads. They all land in a small pond, except for Amber, who is struck by a rock and lands on solid ground. After they help her down, they realize Dylan is missing. They search for Dylan inside the cave, and when they exit to the beach, they continue looking for him. Jack, who has already endured so much, loses hope and collapses to the ground, unconscious. Medical personnel soon arrive and place Jack on a backboard. As they administer oxygen and secure him, Dylan runs toward his father, and Jack regains consciousness. Dylan explains that Tariq's father's boat picked him up, and Tariq's father has taken charge of the rescue operation. Jack tells his family how grateful he is that they survived, knowing that many others didn't make it. The family walks toward the rescue helicopters and ships, relieved that they went through hell but made it out alive. Their strength was tested by snow, storms, and earthquakes, but their bond proved stronger. As for the world, it has now entered a new era of climate, where deserts have entered the ice age. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.